right, so we're on the calculating formulas practice 2 side. You should have a calculator. If you recall, the rule or the instructions up here are the same as they were before because we've already done this. Use these values with units to find the answer to the problems 7 through 14. Rewrite the formulas with the numbers and units in them. Round to the correct amount of sig figs, and then put the correct answer. So we'll go over all those rules again so you're refreshed on it. Basically, you're going to replace L with what it says L is. L is length. Length is 5.0 centimeters. So I'm going to replace L with 5.0 centimeters. No symbol means time, so I'm going to put a dot for times. Remember, X's are kind of out of style now. W is 10.0 centimeters. So I have rewritten the formula with the numbers and units in it. And notice I kept the 0.0 with it. You can't just skip that. So you should have 5.0 centimeters times 10.0 centimeters. And then you're going to do, what's the matter?
Isn't it, wait, hold on. So
length is 5.0 centimeters.
And then
Width is 10.0 centimeters.
Oh.
Okay. So I think you can do it in your head that 5 times 10 is 50, but you have to do the sig figs. And remember to do sig figs, you look at your numbers that are measurements. Measurements have units on them. Look at all of those in the problem and figure out which one has the least number of decimal digits. This one has 1 decimal digit. This one has 1 decimal digit. So the least number of decimal digits is 1. So my answer needs 1. So I'm going to, in this case, I have to give it a 1 decimal place. And then I took centimeters times centimeters, so my unit is?
Centimeters.
Squared. Yep, centimeters squared, because I took centimeters times centimeters. Remember, square is like a 2-dimensional thing, like your piece of paper is 2-dimensional. Okay, the next one, LWH. Again, L is 5.0 centimeters times W is 10.0 centimeters times H is 2.0 centimeters. So 5 times 10 is 50. 50 times 2 is 100. Again, my numbers with units on them all have 1 decimal place. So the least number of decimal places is 1. So my answer gets 1. Then I took centimeters times centimeters times centimeters, and I got?
Cube.
Yep, the little 3 up there. And now it's a 3-dimensional thing. If you think about a cube, it's 3-dimensional and a square is 2-dimensional. Yeah.
Did you ever have to the fourth?
Not here, no. The 4th dimension is kind of, some people consider the 4th dimension smell. You know, if you go to like a 3D movie or a 4D movie, they spray water in your face, and the 4th dimension is spraying water in your face. That's not exactly mathematical. You know what I mean?
So what would you, if you had centimeters times centimeters times centimeters times centimeters?
You wouldn't.
You wouldn't.
Yeah, because there's no formula that would have that.
It's theoretically possible, but we're not going to use it in middle school.
Okay, so M is on top, V is on bottom. Remember, a fraction means to divide. So M is 25.0 grams. V, notice it's capital V because there's a little v, which is velocity. It's 3.0 milliliters. So if you use your handy dandy calculator, 25 divided by 3, you get 8.3 repeating. Now you can write that out or you can round it right off your screen. Both my numbers that have units on them have 1 decimal place, so the least number of decimal places is 1. So my answer needs 1. So this 3 is in the 1's place. The 3 next to it makes that 3 stay the same, right? So my answer is 8.3. My unit, and again, notice the formula asks you to write it like a fraction. I wrote it like a fraction. If you would have written it like 25.0 grams and a divide sign, 3.0 milliliters, you're going to be coming up to me saying, what's the unit answer, or which one's on top, the grams or the milliliters? And I'm going to say to you, go back to your seat and rewrite it like the formula says to, and then I'll answer your question. Well, when you do that and you get rid of this, you're going to go, oh, there it is right there. So you're not going to have to ask me. That's the reason we do that. We write it like the formula says, and we leave the formulas in the problem so you can figure out the unit answer. Yeah,
Would you rather you write it out like that, or do you care if you have like a slash between the two numbers?
I don't really care about the slash, no. Matter of fact, on the back side, there's one that I typed as a slash. I did that just to show you that it's still a fraction. All right, so mg. M is 25.0 grams. G is 9.8 meters over seconds. Again, no symbol means to multiply. 25 times 9.8. I get 245. My numbers that have units, 1 decimal place, 1 decimal place. So my least number of decimal places is 1. My answer has none, so I have to add 1. Now this is the one, remember, if you have a unit that's not a fraction, you pretend like it's on top. So we have grams on top, meters on top, seconds on bottom. And remember, if any of those were alike, we might be able to cancel them out, but there are not 2 grams or 2 meters or 2 seconds. They're all different. So you have to keep them all. You're going to keep grams on top, you're going to keep meters on top, and you're going to put seconds on bottom. And that's a unit that we read about in our last chapter. Okay, the next one, 2 pi r. I'm pretty sure this is circumference of a circle formula. Yeah.
Is a gram meter a second a Newton?
Kilogram meter per second is a Newton. But yeah, it's very similar to that. All right, so you got 2 times pi, which is 3.14, times radius, which is, what's radius? Oh, thank you. 4.58 centimeters. Okay, so I'm going to take my calculator. 2 times 3.14 times 4.58. I get 28.7624. I'm going to put this over here so we can round off of it. 2 is not a measurement. It doesn't have a unit, so we don't count that. 3.14 is not a measurement. It doesn't have a unit. It's pi. It's a ratio. 4.58 has a unit. It has 2 decimal places, so the least number of decimal places is 2. So I got to round my answer to that 6. The 2 makes the 6 stay the same. So my answer is 28.76. The only unit in my problem is centimeters, so that's easy. This one is a good example of why we do all this. When the formulas get longer and more complex, it's easier to keep up if you rewrite the formulas with the numbers and units in it. And keep your units there so you can figure it out. Pi is 3.14 times diameter squared. Diameter is 1.4 centimeters. I got to write it out twice. Remember, you write it out twice. If you don't write it out twice, you'll either forget to multiply it times itself, or you'll forget that you have 2 centimeters there, and you'll get the unit wrong, or both. Divided by 4 times h, which is 2.0 centimeters. All right, so the top here, this whole thing is multiply and divide. So according to the commutative property, you can do it in any order you want. I usually go across the top, divide by 4, and times by this. So 3.14 times 1.4 times 1.4 divided by 4 times 2. I get 3.0772. So if you look at my problem, not a measurement, but all 3 of these are measurements and they all have 1 decimal place. So my answer needs 1 decimal place. The least number of decimal places in a measurement in my problem is 1, so my answer needs 1. The 0 is in that place. The 7 makes the 0 go up, so your final answer would be 3.1. And you took centimeters times centimeters times centimeters, so you get centimeters cubed. You can see why if you only put centimeters up here once, how you'd probably get your unit as centimeters square. Again, we write those out so that you get the answer more often. GT, 9.8 meters over seconds times T, which is 10.5 seconds. All right, so 9.8 times 9.8 times 10.5. I get 102.9 on my calculator. 1 decimal place, 1 decimal place. So the least number of decimal places is 1. My answer already has one, so it's my final answer. I don't have to do anything to it. I've got meters on top, seconds on bottom. Remember, if it's not a fraction, we pretend like it's on top. Two of them are alike. One of them is on the bottom, one of them is on the top, so we get to cancel those out, and you're left with just meters, which makes sense because that's an altitude formula. Altitude would be measured in a distance unit. Yeah?
If you had like 9.8 meters per second times like itself again, like would you just make it whatever it is, not with the n over second?
9.8 meters per second times 9.8 meters per second?
Yeah, like if you had that as a thing, like would you cancel it out still or not?
No, 'cause then you would have no unit at all, and they're not opposite. Seconds would both be on the bottom in that case.
So it has
And
to be opposites.
yes, yes. Okay, using the values of this problem, you need to know how many cubic centimeters it will take to fill a syringe, which is a cylinder. So this is the the volume of a cylinder formula. Pi is 3.14 times radius of 0.7 centimeters twice. Notice I write it out twice. Times height 9 centimeters. I wrote it out twice. The units are with it. So I go 3.14 times 0.7 times 0.7 times 9.
Can you move the paper a little bit?
Yeah. Make sure. Yeah, there it is. Times 9. My final answer on my calculator is 13.8474. Pi is not a unit, but this one has 1 decimal place, this one has 1 decimal place, this one has no decimal places. So the least number of decimal places that's in a measurement in your problem is none. So we have to round this to none. So you're going to round to this 3. The 8 makes the 3 go up. So your final answer is 14. You took centimeters times centimeters times centimeters, got centimeters squared. Or excuse me, no, yeah, you're right. Sorry about that. You are so right. Okay, so you are going to flip it over and you're going to do the backside on your own. Just to get you started, 8.0 centimeters times 5.0 centimeters is the first rewrite. For some reason, a lot of times when kids start rewriting the page on their own, they stop redoing the formula. And you get a point for rewriting the formulas with the numbers and units in it. You get a point for the number answer rounded to the correct amount of digits. And you get a point for the unit.